Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, once again, depending on where you're joining from. This is Academic Grants Writing Enclave, and we are very delighted to have you join us for today's keynote lecture on rebuilding the broken walls of integrity in the higher education system while sharing knowledge. Before the speaker for the day comes up, I will read his citation before I hand the microphone over to him. Professor Joseph Zambwa hails from Gumchi, Michika, local government, Adamawa State, Nigeria. He attended Gumchi Primary School from 1976 to 1982, followed by Government Junior Secondary School, Gata, and GSS Michika from 1982 to 1987, and graduated with distinctions as one of the top students in 1987. He got admission at Federal University of Technology, Yola, that same year, and graduated with BTech Education Electronics. He later enrolled for his master's degree in the same university in 2001 and successfully graduated with MTech Industrial Technology Education Electronics. Professor Joseph Zambwa got admitted for his PhD program in Modibo Adama University of Technology, Yola, and successfully graduated with a PhD in Industrial Technology Education. Professor Zambwa's career progression began at Government Technical College, Yola, where he was the instructor and head of electrical installation in 1996. He got an appointment as lecturer 3 at the College of Education, Hong, Adamawa State. In the year 2000, Professor Zambwa got an appointment at Modibo Adama University, formerly called Federal University of Technology, Yola, as an assistant lecturer. Professor Zambwa steadily rose to the rank of lecturer 2 to lecturer 1, then to senior lecturer, associate professor, and finally to the rank of professor of industrial technology education. At Modibo Adama University, Professor Zambwa held various positions, including member of Board of Trustees, University Students Support Scheme, USSS, member University Strategic Planning Committee, member University Secondary School Management Board, coordinator Center for Equipment Maintenance and Industrial Training, CMIT, of the university, to mention a few, and currently member of Senate and HOD, Electrical Technology Education Department of the university. Professor Joseph Zambwa is involved in several community services. Recently, he was appointed by the governor of his state, Adamawa State, to serve as a member of the committee for the establishment of a special institution called Adamawa State College of Technology, Innovations and Entrepreneurship Studies, GOLAC. Presently, Professor Zambwa is serving on the Education and Youth Development Committee for Michika Kingdom in Adamawa State, Nigeria. If we are going into details of who Professor Joseph Zambwa is and his contributions to society, it will take us a long time. So in summary, we can just use the acronym INTEGRITY to throw more light on Professor Zambwa's citation. Now the word integrity stands for, I stands for internationally and nationally recognized as a recipient of many awards, including the National Productivity Award given to him by the federal government of Nigeria for his positive contribution to knowledge in Nigeria and beyond. N stands for nurtured and mentored hundreds of undergraduates and directly supervised over 50 undergraduate and postgraduate students, including PhD students. T, teacher par excellence, with over 30 years of cognate experience and registered with various professional bodies, entrepreneur with versatile practical knowledge, and involved in animal husbandry, piggery, poultry, farming, etc., as businesses, thereby providing employment opportunities to many in the society. E, entrepreneur with versatile practical knowledge and involved in animal husbandry, piggery, poultry, farming, etc., as businesses, thereby providing employment opportunities to many in the society. G, group of schools proprietor. Professor Zambwa is a founder of group of schools with over 100 employees, including Zamaki International Christian Academy, Michika, Zamaki Academy, Yola, and recently Zamaki College of Health Sciences and Technology, Yola, the first of such private tertiary institution to be approved by the federal government of Nigeria in Adamawa State. R, researcher with over 50 peer-reviewed local and international journal publications and conference papers. I, industrious and hardworking author, as well as co-author, and has published over 10 educational books currently in use in schools across states in Nigeria. T, touches the lives of the poor and less privileged through Zamaki Care Initiative, providing scholarships to orphans and indigent children. Y, yielded minister of the gospel, a pastor, and Adamawa State overseer of the Deeper Christian Life Ministry, as well as the Northeast Zonal Coordinating Overseer, Nigeria. Professor Zambwa is happily married to his amiable wife, Aki, and blessed with 4 children. Ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me that there is no one more fit for today's discourse than Professor Joseph Zambwa. So let us welcome him with our favorite emojis, and let us show him that we are delighted to have him join us for today's keynote lecture. Please keep it rolling, keep it rolling, keep it rolling. You're welcome, sir. Keep it rolling. You're welcome, sir. You can have the microphone, sir. God bless you.
Professors, other esteemed colleagues, and distinguished participants that joined from several countries of the world, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the September edition of monthly webinar series of academic and grant writing included. I want to sincerely thank the organizers of this great event, especially Dr. Wazani Doda, a versatile researcher of global reputation, for giving me the opportunity to give this keynote lecture on the topic, Rebuilding the Broken Walls of Integrity in the Higher Education System while Sharing Knowledge. Looking at the topic, rebuilding the wall suggests that there was a wall of integrity in the higher education system that was broken. And the question we ought to ask ourselves is not who broke the wall and whose duty is it to build the wall. No, that's not the question that should bother us. It's like you went out of your house, and when you returned, you looked around and found out that someone had caused a damage to the house. Reptiles and other things started creeping inside the house to cause havoc. At that instance, what will concern you is not as to who broke it, but how to fix the problem first, for your safety and for the safety of your family. That is the attitude with which we'll approach this lecture. Therefore, looking at the topic, rebuilding the broken wall of integrity in tertiary institutions across the world, I dare to say that no meaningful discussions can be effectively offered on academic integrity without a close look at the decay that has begun higher education nations across the world. The media at various times have reported news of corruption taking place in tertiary educational systems. As a social malaise, corruption has become a cankerworm affecting educational outcomes, as the academic staff, students, and management of tertiary educational institutions are caught up in the wave. Here, integrity as a virtue has been threatened. I'm sure some of you might have heard of the corruption case that happened some time ago. And in our country here, Nigeria, and even some other places. And because of what people hear about Nigeria, what we hear about African countries, when you hear of a topic about integrity in higher education system, what comes to mind is, oh, that is Nigeria factor. Oh, that's African country factor. Oh, it has not to do with us here in the West. I'm here to tell you that no country is immune from this integrity issue in tertiary education system. Corruption in higher education system is a global issue affecting various continents in different ways. I'll give you some examples of how corruption issues affect countries all over the world. For example, in Nigeria, yes, we have corruption issues in higher education that include bribery for positions, fake transcripts, plagiarism, exam practice, and so on. In South Africa, we have also issues of corruption in tertiary education system. For example, South Africa shut down some colleges and universities offering fake and unaccredited programs some time ago. We also see that Kenya, see that in Uganda too, across African countries and other African countries. But are these limited to African countries? No, the answer is no. In China, for example, some time ago, 15 Chinese nationals were prosecuted for cheating the college entrance examination system involving false passports. And also in Russia, we have seen rampant academic fraud and corruption with cases of bribery for good grades and PhD admissions. We'll go on and on to mention cases in India and other countries in Asia. In Europe, for example, the University of Wales some years ago had issues of degree validation programs with dubious overseas partner institutions. And how about the United States of America? Of course, you find inadequate inequality in access to quality education in the United States of America, where students from low-income families have limited access to quality education. You also find implicit bias and stereotyping in the US. You also find lack of cultural competence or competency and funding disparity, all happening in the tertiary education system in the United States of America. Now, like to say, I go on and on and on to mention states across the world, countries across the world, where such lack of integrity in higher education system are seen and with their attendant effects. And the issue is this: what are the effects of such lack of integrity in higher education system? Of course, obvious. One, erodes trust in the academic institutions and entire education system. Two, lowers access to education. Not only that, increases the risk of unqualified practitioners in critical professions. Not only that, it wastes precious resources and raises the cost of education. That's why it is commendable that the organizers of this webinar series thought it wise to include such a topic. Now, somebody may ask, Prof, of what significance is this lecture? Are you going to publish it in a high-impact journal? Well, this lecture is not about publishing. This is about character, about honesty, about integrity. There's this saying that is common in tertiary education system across the world. This saying, publish or perish. I'm sure you have heard that before. publish or perish. In other words, if you don't publish, you perish. That your progression in tertiary education system all over the world depends on how you are able to publish good papers, good journals. But I dare to say that you can publish in globally recognized journals, but if you don't have integrity, you perish in the job. For example, there was this professor in one of the universities here in Nigeria that was summarily dismissed from service recently because of his involvement in illicit relationship with his female student. So, of course, after an investigation was carried out, he was found guilty in advancing toward that lady, trying to have an illicit relationship with her. Eventually, the management of the university summarily dismissed him. So even though he might have surplus publication, probably hundreds or thousands, the lack of integrity has made him perish on the job. That's why this topic affects all of us. It's not about publishing, but about maintaining integrity in the education system. A great deal of effort will be required to restore higher education to its initial standing when the craving for standards was the one. This lecture therefore addresses the menace of corruption and its causes in higher education system in nations across the world. It also discusses integrity in higher education and ways of rebuilding the broken walls of integrity through knowledge sharing, especially with students. Finally, the lecture looks at a prototype of how a message on integrity can be made effective by tertiary education institutions in nations across the world. Looking at corruption as the bane of integrity in higher education, we are going to look at some key points, of course, which includes 1, misappropriation of research and educational funds, unethical academic practices and misconduct, corruption in accreditation and admission processes, systemic and gender-based trends in academic corruption. Looking at corruption as the bane of integrity in higher education, the Independent and Corrupt Practices Commission, ICPC, as it's called in Nigeria, defined corruption as bribery, fraud, and other related offenses. It is the abuse of public power for personal aggrandizement, which includes a wide range of illegal activities such as bribery, extortion, grafting, theft, embezzlement, fraud, nepotism, falsifying academic transcripts, and kickbacks, and so on. Let me explain something here. You see, you find this so common in tertiary institutions across the world of people that are so proud of failing students. Can you imagine a lecturer will say, A is for me, B for the best student, C for others. And to keep his word, after the exam, you discover that hardly will a student score A in his course. Deliberately, he will so mark the script in such a way that the highest, the brightest student in that class will score B. That's wickedness. The question is that if somebody did that to him while he was in school, could he have been, would he have graduated and maybe gotten a good certificate to the extent he's now a lecturer? Of course, these are corruption in higher education. Sometimes you see some people also they find interest in frustrating students. Someone say, "Well, before you pass my course, you will have to cry and you have to really suffer, as if suffering is part of the lesson." Of course, these are part of the corruption. And the somebody is talking about is trying to, frustrate somebody by making one feel as if he is lord over him, not a lecturer, a lord over him or her. Of course, that's not good in tertiary education system. And so there have been allegations by the Tertiary Education Trust Fund of them to use and misappropriation of research funds also at academic staff. This is one of the bane of integrity in public tertiary universities, especially across countries across the world. You see somebody will get TED Fund scholarship, as we call it in Nigeria. It's called some other counterparts, different names. And then instead of such a person to use the money for research, you go and buy a flashy car, so that when he comes back from study and goes to his village, by the time he drives a flashy car, people say, oh, so-and-so has come from abroad, he has come from overseas. And then he will misappropriate the money. Of course, that's part of the corruption. But sometimes, if it's somebody using money that's meant for research, PhD research, for example, from overseas, and then he will build a house in his village so that people will say, oh, this person has made it. No, that's part of the corruption. And also we see that this type of corruption affects the success of tertiary education all over the world. Not only that, the Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project reported allegations of corruption in several federal universities in 2018, especially affects Nigeria concerning the unfair distribution of grades, contract, inflation, truncation of staff members, salaries on the payroll, employment of unqualified staff, certificate scandal, and so many of them. You discover that in some universities, they employ people on sentiment, and it's very unfortunate. And sometimes some of these employment do not go through due process. You see somebody, for example, just as a head of department, you see somebody reporting to the department, oh, I'm employed, I'm a new lecturer here. It shouldn't be like that. At least employment should start from a kind of collaboration. Let the head of department be carried along. Let the people to employ be screened to know, are they really of materials? Can they deliver? But in situations whereby merit gives way to sentiment, of course, it's a corruption decision. Not only that, falsification of research results, plagiarism, buying of admissions, grades, exam question papers, nepotism, and ignoring students' misconduct are all instances of corruption that happen in tertiary institutions across the world. Still talking about corruption as the bane of integrity in higher education, we see academic staff in tertiary institutions across the world engage in unethical practices by publishing papers in sham journals, falsifying data, bribing co-authors, paying ghostwriters, or even stealing papers submitted to them for review and publishing the paper in their name. This one, you find it across the world, just especially those that are looking for promotion to the next rank. They are so desperate to get papers. You see somebody say, can you put my name? Just put my name. I will pay, no matter how much it will cost. And then just put his name. He has not contributed to the paper. He has not done anything, but you just get crashed into that journal just for the sake of getting promotion. That's not right. It needs to be added that forceful sale of handouts and books, victimization of students, and sexual harassment are things also academic staff sometimes engage. Equally, admission, racketeering, fostering in students' accommodation are some forms of transgression that happen in tertiary institutions across the world. Now, the question is, what causes the corruption in the education system? And so we look at causes of corruption in the education system. We have some key points discussed there. Number one, we look at systemic and economic pressures on academic staff. We look at certificate obsession and societal expectations. We look at erosion of merit and rise of shortcuts and the negative impact on educational quality and infrastructure. Looking at causes of corruption in education, there are many instances identified as being responsible for the prevalence of corruption in education. For example, delays in payment of salaries, undue emphasis on the presentation of certificates, and the get-rich-quick syndrome are some of the instances. Others are moral decay, materialism, living beyond one's means, and poor political leadership. Of course, these issues sometimes create frustration for members of staff, especially those who depend on the monthly salaries for their upkeep. The political class, understanding this phenomenon, can apply all that is at their disposal to acquire a diploma or a university degree. Yeah, of course. Let me explain something here. Sometimes you see some of these politicians, they'll come around and they'll just get a lecturer and then they'll pay him to write thesis for them. And you'll be surprised that you will think as if you're not getting anybody to do that. But because of the corruption in the system, you see some lecturers writing thesis. They'll just attach their name to the thesis. The man has not contributed anything, just paying the money, and eventually the whole work is done. That's part of corruption, of course. Sometimes it may not be people from outside, it will be students under the lecturer's supervision. And because the man is a wealthy man, then he will have his way and just tell the supervisor, sir, you know how things are bad, I don't have time, I'm honorable so and so, and because of this, I don't have all the time, can you help me? That's not help, that's corruption. And the lecturer will say, okay, no problem, I'll help you. And the man will just dole out millions of currency, and before you know what's happening, the work is done by the supervisor himself, not by the student. Of course, this is part of corruption. So you can see that corruption has adverse effects in tertiary institutions. These social malaise affect development and economic activities in those institutions, and of course it has negative implications. And again, corruption in tertiary institutions gives rise to lack of dedication to duty on the part of academic staff. It makes one lazy, lowers their morale and integrity. What? That's another aspect of it. That's another aspect. As a lecturer, you need a conducive atmosphere to work. And when you want to do your best, and in that environment, you don't have electricity, how can you conduct research under a situation whereby you don't even have like the basic necessities in your office? No electricity. So even the office will be dark, and no means of maybe control the weather, whether by fan or air conditioning system. So you can see that that kind of situation will make the lecturers less productive. And so you can see here that it's part of the corruption, because when the administrators of these tertiary institutions place more emphasis on certain things and underrate the working atmosphere of lecturers, we discover that this can bring lack of commitment to the system and to the work. And so corruption in tertiary institutions give rise to lack of dedication to duty the part of academic staff because of some of the things I've mentioned above. It makes them sometimes lazy or lower their morale and integrity. And the overall outcome is falling standard of education as institutions are already low on the global rank. Now, talking about integrity in higher education, what is the way out? We have some key points to discuss under this topic, under this subtopic. One, look at the role of education in society. Two, look at importance of academic integrity in higher education. And three, core values of academic integrity. And then we look at also understanding honesty as a pillar of integrity. Education deals with the acquisition of knowledge, skills, competency, attitudes, and values that are essential for useful living in a society where beneficiaries contribute their quota to the society's development. And for this to happen, of course, the integrity, places a demand on the beneficiaries of education to display a high level of honesty in order that their future endeavor are not jeopardized. So, academic integrity has become extremely important in higher education. This is because it guarantees the credibility of qualification and steadfastness of scholarly work. Now, looking at integrity in higher education, still, you see that academic integrity involves commitment to 6 fundamental values as opined by this author. Number 1, we look at honesty. Yes, very, very important. If you do not have honesty as a lecturer or as an administrator in tertiary institution, you can tell that that institution will collapse or be affected negatively. If you don't have trust, you don't have fairness, you don't have respect, you don't have responsibility and courage. You don't have courage to say no to certain things. It just brings me to this scenario. Recently, one of my students in the department, he was having some challenges, a lot of carryovers. So of course, you cook up stories. My father, my mother was sick, my father was this, and that. So had a lot of carryovers, and he narrowly escaped to register because he had a lot of issues. And sometimes he was financially down to the extent that we had to contribute to pay school fees for him. But now, look at it. With all the challenges he passed through, guess what? Recently, I went to the department, and they brought a shoe. A new shoe, a brand new shoe to me. The secretary brought it to my office. I said, who gave you this shoe to give me? He said, in so and so. I said, who so and so? He said, that student. I said, please, can I see him? And then they sent for the student. And I asked him, so and so, you bought a shoe for me? Yes, sir. Why? Sir, because of the way you have helped me. I said, no. We even managed to pay school fees for you. How is it that you are the one buying shoe for me? I said, no. That I've not done that to you to help you. I've done that to you to help you, not to expect any gift from you. I said, take your shoe. Of course, I didn't take the shoe. You know why? Because you see, that's how gratification starts, slowly and slowly. And if care is not taken, if you are used to collecting money, collecting gratifications, gifts from students, it has a way of making it to be corrupt. And I hope after this lecture, some of us that are in this system and some of us that are used to doing that will stop that. And so when one is honest, both to himself and to others, one is preserving one's integrity. Honesty goes beyond just not lying, stealing, and perpetrating similar acts. Of course, we see that honesty is very important and very, very, very essential in our work as lecturers, as well as staff and managers of tertiary education all over the world. It involves truthful and forthright communication, as well as, showing trustworthiness to others, such as keeping to one's promises and to others as well, and relating to others in a truthful and sincere manner. So, as we continue, I want to say that rebuilding the broken walls of integrity is very essential and is something that we need to look at it thoroughly and carefully. And so, as we look at rebuilding the walls of integrity through knowledge sharing, how do we do it? Of course, we know that integrity in higher institutions, of course, has been questioned again and again as this value or as this vital value has seemed to have collapsed. And therefore, effort must be made to mend or rebuild it, and as well build confidence in the system once again. Of course, you see sometimes, I don't know if some of you read over papers. Recently, somebody dramatized here in our country, and he said, how can we pity professors? They are the ones that rig election for Nigerian leadership. And therefore, and now when the same system they help to rig people in the system does not take care of them, and they cry out. Now, the question is this: of course, not all the professors, but if, for example, you are made a returning officer, by politicians, by the political system, you should keep your integrity. And that's why it's worth mentioning here that one of the professors in the eastern country in Nigeria, she stood, a female professor, she stood. During the time of being a returning officer during that election, she stood her ground. Politicians tried to bribe her, paid her money, but she stood her ground and said, no, she's a woman of integrity. She wouldn't compromise. Of course, her life was threatened, but she stood on her ground. And today, she's like a hero. People talk about her. So we need to keep on integrity, especially we that are in the academic system at higher level. We need to mentor those at lower level. If you as a professor, for example, you lower down yourself because of these politicians, you collect peanuts from them and sell your integrity, what example are you showing to people come from behind? You cannot be a good mentor. And so, you can see that building the broken walls of integrity starts from us. We are at the peak, and then it trickles down to those lower on the ladder. After looking at this, we see that this can be done through strengthening ethics and integrity teaching. Not only that, it can be done through authentications and verification of qualifications. It can be done through enacting institution-specific academic integrity practices, and also through improving admission and assessment process so as to safeguard records. Again, talking about rebuilding the broken walls of integrity through knowledge sharing can be done, of course, through various means. And it has also been suggested that there's need for increasing salaries so that, when salaries are increased, it will motivate staff to give their best. Not only that, it will make people to at least reduce the incidence of market compensation bribes, whereby the person will put their best to the work. Now, how then can we build this broken wall? A very big question we need to attend to. And in answering this question, I want to mention two broad things. Number one is teaching academic integrity. It is regrettable that educators, we that are in the system, instead of focusing on what they need students to do, they simply tell them not to cheat, not to falsify or fabricate data, not to collude, not to plagiarize, or get involved in contract cheating. It's not enough to just tell them, don't do this, don't do this. It's not enough. So there must be a set of positive values, agreement with ethical and professional principles, standard and practice that involve the whole institution. Everyone must have a part to play to restore academic integrity in such an institution. And therefore, what educators need to do is show students what they are required to do, not just telling them. And how do we do that? One, in practical terms, academic integrity needs to be communicated to students where they are taught how to avoid plagiarism, to reference materials properly, and to avoid unnecessary exaggerations, assumptions, allegations, and incrimination. In our university here, we had a course to turn down somebody's PhD defense because he copied verbatim from somewhere, and not knowing that the supervisor of the former student will be part of the defense, right? So during defense, the supervisor simply just, when he saw the work, he simply made a reference to the work he supervised somebody else, and so just went on the net and got that same work and started comparing during the defense, only discover it was part of his work. Of course, we had to step down that kind of thing because it is against integrity. And of course, the student will be penalized by repeating the whole process. And so, we as the teaching staff require some teaching, all right, on various aspects of academic integrity. And as a moral issue, academic integrity needs to be highly demonstrated by members, we, the lecturers. Of course, we need to be taught to avoid plagiarism, and then we also have to make sure that they avoid that because it has legal implications. Now, this can also be done by sharing knowledge regarding the concept. First, group discussions can be employed. Of course, where you group people together and then pose better questions to them, and then you now try to answer among themselves. And then also, we can also use a lecture discussing the relationship between the students' practice of academic integrity while in school and integrity in their future life careers. In other words, we are trying to link, you teach them what they will expect when they graduate from school. It's not just what they're supposed to know within the four corners of the classroom, but what is expected of them by the time they graduate. Very, very important. And of course, on campus, we can teach them about integrity during what we call career weeks in some universities. Some tertiary institutions, we have career weeks whereby integrity that will be dedicated to teaching them some issues of integrity and why the culture needs to be imbibed by all students. Now, again, teaching academic integrity. This way, all the acts that go contrary to integrity will be shown by students and dismissed as an abomination. Students needs to be educated about the fact that integrity practiced in school regarding plagiarism, exam misconduct, and display of general good conduct has a lot of bearing on the students. Of course, their future career. And of course, we need to understand that honest students in academics will invariably become honest by the time they become somebody in the society after graduation. And therefore, students under us need to understand that integrity is a lifelong virtue that defines an individual, not just within the four walls of classroom, but after they graduate and when they live in the society. Because it affects their role eventually as they contribute to their society at large. Now, number 2, institutional support. Yes, by institutional support, we mean we're talking about campus-wide dialogue and policy whereby we engage the academic community and also establish clear policies to guide students' behavior and their way of life when they're in the campus. Not only that, talk about integrity culture where we create a culture of academic integrity to support students, faculty, and staff. And also we talk about the narrative, a new narrative which is about the shift of the approach from punishment to education and then emphasize core values. Not only that, we talk about where we can make information and academic integrity available on the campus website, library website, department websites, and course website. Again, I want to say here that if, for example, in some tertiary institutions, you don't have electricity, then you cannot talk about website because website depends on the power, has to be powered. And again, that's why we need to understand that the administrators of tertiary institutions has a role to play. A person for you in the West may think and say, is it possible? Yes, I'm telling you, it's possible. There are some places you have a tertiary institution that do not have light, don't have power 24/7, they have, so if at all they are, sometimes they have erratic power supply. And so how do you talk of websites? When even the power that's needed to power, a little, it's like maybe socket for it to power on your laptop is not available. So you can see here that there's a great role to play. There's need to be, there are great roles that need to be played in this area. Not only that, we also need to understand that student and faculty orientations are very important in addressing quality of education tertiary institutions and also to encourage a kind of a high quality and the integrity among students. Like that, we talk about addressing academic integrity at orientation programs. When students come newly, you'll discover that in some universities, they don't even have orientation programs. And so students will just come, they will just enter the system, enter classrooms for lectures, and there's nothing about orientation programs. And because of that, you will see some of them doing some funny things. And so there's need to address such issue of integrity at orientation programs and events. Not only that, we can do that through distance education by giving students logins and then passwords for them to get access to such information. Now, we also have students' responsibilities, not just staff. How do we involve students? Number one, involve students in all discussions so that buy-in happens at the very beginning. Not only that, we give them responsibility for creating and maintaining a campus-wide integrity system. Not only that, we make students become peer educators, review misconduct issues, make them part of the administration of addressing the issue of integrity in the system. Not only that, we integrate integrity into orientation for new students. By the time they get admission into any institution, then we make them part of the policy implementers, like senators, students, or body officers. So by the time we integrate them into orientation for new student body, for the administration of the school, you see that you'll be able to know how to disseminate the same information to their colleagues. By that, can improve integrity in the system. Also, we have curriculum and instruction role to play. And how does curriculum and instruction play a role? It's playing a role by defining the concept of integrity, or discuss policy early in the course, stating expectation for students, and explain what they should expect, and then also by including the statement in the syllabus, and then encouraging integrity, as you can see on the slide. And also, we need to create integrity culture among students by empowering them to build culture of integrity, by asking for their input on how to create community of integrity in their course. Not only that, it requires students to read and sign an agreement, the campus academic integrity policy, where there is, because not all universities have that, not all academic students have that. We also need to ask students to explain the value of such policy in assignment discussion, among others. Now, in the classroom, there's a role to play. For example, we can define misconduct in the classroom, and then we create assignment activities which collaborate with, in which collaboration is essential. That collaboration between the students themselves, and then also with the input of the staff, because the difference between collaboration and cheating, and then create assignments on research skills, work with library staff, prepare materials on research skills and plagiarism. It also requires students annotate their references as stated, and then including other ones as stated below. Not only that, talking about including case study about ethics and integrity within the course is very, very important also in addressing integrity in tertiary education system. And this is done by stating expectations for the time needed to complete each assignment, including links, information on plagiarism, set case and examples, and also including information about the library, writing center, and other support services, and stating whether they use such a plagiarism detection service. And also outside classrooms, such can be utilized in order to enhance integrity in tertiary education system. And that's done by incorporating academic integrity studies into trainings, publishing academic integrity strategies and policy and faculty handbooks and websites, publishing guidelines for handling and reporting misconduct, and so on and so forth, as stated on the slide before you. And of course, we need to explain the consequences and the precautions to all. Students may fail an assignment, of course, lose a scholarship or financial aid, and or get expelled from a college if such a student is found to be someone of questionable character with no integrity. Professionals may also lose their reputation, lose their license, and or the ability to participate in their field if they are found to be wanting in this area of integrity. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, integrity is essential to the success of higher education. Corruption threatens academic standards and student outcomes. Tertiary institutions must take urgent steps to restore and uphold integrity. Not only that, as we conclude, we have some recommendations here that will guide us. Number one is to hold regular class discussions on academic integrity, restructure exam settings and increase supervision, monitor staff and students, and enforce strict penalties for misconduct. and appoint only individuals with proven integrity into leadership roles. And also, we can automate systems to reduce human interference, increase transparency. We can also reject the societal glorification of weight from questionable sources. Let me explain something here. Sometimes you see some lecturers, they are fond of, making a gain out of the assignment. Let's say, for example, postgraduate coordinators, we call it PG coordinators in some places, heads of department, that they task students beyond measure, beyond expectations. They task students in the name of giving refreshment for PhD defense or master's degree defense. For example, when you are asking students to pay $100,000 or 100,000 naira for refreshment during defense, how many people are expecting that defense? And by the way, in some universities, there are monies allocated for such work and for such a project. Not only that, in some universities, in some tertiary institutions, such monies are embedded in their school fees. So when you now charge students for defense and then ask them to pay money, and then it's like putting unnecessary burden on them, and that's corruption. Of course, this is not correct, and it's part of lack of integrity and to be rejected. As we bring this lecture to an end, ladies and gentlemen, I want to close with the fact that God vindicates anyone that stands for integrity. I want to tell you this story, life story indeed. I want to tell you this story before I close. A student of high integrity and also a lecturer, a corrupt lecturer, had an issue some time ago in one of the universities. And what happened is, this lecturer wanted to involve this student and in an illicit relationship. In other words, wanted to advance towards her in a way of having something to do with her before she can pass this exam. So, but this girl, or this lady, was a lady of integrity, so she refused. And but the lecturer vowed and said, as long as I'm the course lecturer, you won't pass this course until I've done what I want to do with you. And of course, he kept his word. So after the exam, he collected the scripts and went straight to the script of that lady. And so picked the script and wrote question mark in all the questions. For example, if there were 10 questions, question 1, question mark. Question 2, question mark. Question 3, question mark. So 10 of them. So he now left it inside the other script. But something happened. He was sent on an assignment outside that institution, and he was to stay for some time. So, and it was so urgent that he didn't finish marking, he didn't finish grading the score. So the scripts were handed over to another lecturer to mark, since he wasn't on ground. And guess what? When the new lecturer took the scripts, when it came to the issue of marking the script of that lady, he saw question mark and looks like 7. Because when he saw the writing was excellent, was okay. So he now looked at it. He said, oh, question 1, 7. Question 2, 7. Question 3, 7. Ladies and gentlemen, 7 times 10 is what? 70. And that's it. That's how he finished grading. He gave the lady 70%, which is A, and then compiled the results, submitted, and then Senate met on the results, and then passed the results. Eventually, when the man came back from the assignment, he discovered that the Senate has approved the result. I went straight to the board to find out the score of that lady. Lo and behold, instead of failure, instead of F, what did he see? He saw A. Because God has so vindicated that woman of integrity, lady of integrity, and eventually the mistake that lecturer made in understanding that question mark to look like 7 has vindicated her. So you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that when you're a man, a woman of integrity, God always vindicates you. God will prosper your ways, always. Thank you for listening.
Wow, wow, wow. This is fantastic. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is quite impactful. Please let us appreciate him. Let us keep on appreciating him. Please appreciate him for this wonderful presentation. Good job, sir. Please appreciate him. Appreciate him with your favorite emojis. Appreciate him. Appreciate him. Appreciate him. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, I have 3 questions for you, sir. Number 1, Prof, in your view, what is the single biggest integrity gap facing higher education systems in Africa today? And why does it persist? How can universities rebuild trust when students and faculty themselves feel disillusioned with the culture of supervision, publishing, and promotion? Then the third one is you lead one of the largest mentorship movements for researchers globally. What lessons from that experience can be applied directly to restoring integrity in our higher education system? Thank you, sir.
It's okay. Thank you so much. Really appreciate, ma'am, for the questions. And I thank all the participants. I've been hearing and seeing your comment. Really appreciate. To start with, let me clarify the fact that this is not an AI-generated presentation. I'm here sitting down in Yola, Adamawa State, Nigeria. So because somebody asked that it's not AI generated, no, it's not AI generated lecture, it's live. So as you can see, I'm here live in Adamawa State, Nigeria. Yes, talking about the issue of integrity in tertiary institutions, to address the first question. Yes, the biggest one, to my understanding, is corruption from the top. There's this saying, I don't know what is the African adage, that when fish rots, it rots from the head. And when the head is affected, it affects all other parts of the body. So similarly, when in tertiary education system, the head is rotting. Let's say, for example, the heads of these institutions, when they do employment, they go for people that are either friends and families. They don't go for merit. They just employ people based on sentiment. Of course, it rubs down, it rubs on the system, and soon the system will collapse. As a matter of fact, when such administrators use that corruption to plant people that are not qualified in the system, even though they can be sycophants, talking about them, oh, you're the only one. You are the only one that can, put this university forward. I mean, to project this university forward. There's nobody like you. These are sycophants. When they surround themselves with people that don't tell them the truth, by people who like to just clap for them, no matter what they did, that's the biggest, one of the biggest problem in the education system. Because once that corruption starts from the top, it affects lower level. And of course, not only that, let's say, for example, in distribution of resources, for tertiary institution, again, is from the top. When, for example, institution A is deprived of getting resources simply because of sentiment, and to the detriment of institution B because of selfish reasons, it's still a corruption. Of course, we see that some of the universities whereby they get the resources, very meager resources from the top, either because they don't have influence, they don't have somebody on the top. So such kind of actions from the top can affect the system. And of course, when it rubs on the system, it will affect the standard of that institution all over the world. And then that institution will not be able to make progress. And so, my understanding, that's one of the greatest problems we have. But when the top is fixed, you see, there's a leadership example. When the leadership starts on integrity, then those below, they don't need essay, they don't really need grammar, they don't need explanations. They will learn by character. They will know exactly how they were writing. And because of that, integrity can be restored in tertiary education system. And also talking about filling the gap. Yes, we can fill the gap by promoting integrity in research and also by competing globally for recognition and also, university ranking, by foreign order. You see, tertiary institutions must balance competition with collaboration. And the integrity in research and character requires transparent methodologies, open access publishing where possible, robust peer review, and publishing in good journals. Not the issue of culture of, well, I must publish by all means. No, that's not the issue. Now, when we maintain that standard and we show that the researchers are to standard, then eventually you see that the standard will be achieved. Not only that, a collective shift towards valuing impactful ethical research over sheer output is necessary. And when these are done, it can restore sanity in tertiary education system, and of course, it can be of higher standards. It can contribute to integrity in tertiary education system. And the last question, I don't think I get it very well. It was when you are asking, I think I didn't get that last question very well. If you don't mind, can you repeat it, Ma? Sorry.
Okay, sir. You lead one of the largest mentorship movements for researchers globally. What lessons from that experience can be applied directly to restoring integrity in our higher education system?
Yeah, again, it has to do with leadership by example. Anyone that wants to lead should lead by example. For example, recently I was to go on a conference and our vice chancellor approved the money for me. And the money was approved in my name as a professor. But because of one thing or the other, one reason or other, I could not go to the conference. So a junior colleague went to present papers on our behalf. Now, guess what? When he returned back, I sat him down. I said, you know what? The university released this money to me as a professor. And since you're not a professor, and I know one of you that went to that conference, I know the rank, I know how the university, what was approved for him. I'm going to release the money as approved to the person of equal rank with you. And then I will return the balance to the university. Of course, he's under me, my department. When I did that, I went and paid the balance to the university coffer and then brought the receipt, evidence of payment to the bursary. The bursar shouted, he said, this is wonderful, that we need people like you in the system. But guess what? Before I did that, some people were saying, Prof, what is this? What is important is that the paper has been presented, Prof, this is not necessary. Just retire that you went and then the paper was presented and therefore you don't need to return it. After all, it's university money. I said, no. So you can see by that singular act, I'm trying to mentor the lecturers in my department on how to do the right thing. And that even though university is not a human being, but we should know that the money, the resources that belong to the university is for public fund. It's a public fund. And because of that, it's as cheating somebody if you cheat the university. And of course, I maintain my ground. I refunded the money. What I'm saying is this. You need courage as a leader. When you're courageous as a leader, I know the right thing to do. I say, this is the way I'll go. You are mentoring and maintaining integrity in the system. And of course, it's not only you, you are mentoring others that come from behind you. I don't know what I've attempted your questions, Ma.
Yes, sir. God bless you, sir. In fact, we need to hear more of this. Fantastic. In fact, two parallel words, integrity and corruption. We really need to deal with it too. Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Ma.
And right now, we are going to be inviting Prof to attend to the questions from other participants. Please, if you have questions, kindly indicate by raising your hand, and I will call you. Mr. John, or rather, Dr. John, please kindly unmute and ask your question.
Good morning, all.
Okay.
My name is Lawan Bulama, and my question goes like this. Prof, sir, search for marks is one of the major problems bedeviling our higher institutions, and in fact, dampening the integrity of our higher institution and even education in most African countries. Even parents are scared of sending their female children to higher institutions because of this sex for marks phenomena. So in the light of the topic at hand, I want our presenter to shed more light on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There are no two ways to that than to have a stiffer punishment for anyone engaged in that filthy behavior. And I've told you during the presentation that one of the professors here in Nigeria lost his job because of that singular act. And so when tertiary institutions have stiffer punishment measures to handle that issue, for example, if a lecturer harasses a female student and the evidence, not that the student will just concoct stories against the lecturer, no, but there are evidence that actually a lecturer harasses a student and just in order to pass her or do something like that. So definitely the tertiary institutions will have to put in place measures to see that such people are punished accordingly. And such punishment, in most cases in some universities, is dismissal from service. And we believe that when this happens in this institution, that institution, and the thing gets around that whenever somebody is involved in this kind of corruption, the person is dismissed from service. We believe that such a menace will stop. I don't know whether I understand my clarifications.
Thank you very much. It's well answered. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so Stanley, please kindly unmute and ask your question.
Thank you, Prof, for the elaborate presentation. That was very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
In the teaching profession, we get challenges, and I'm proud that you also own some institutions of training. I've seen that you are a board member and an owner. sometimes the owners of these institutions, especially the private sector, dictate how the institutions is like how they want to be run, and they value business other than quality of education. They don't mind who is in a position, whether it's a junior or a person who doesn't have enough qualification, as long as they're business connected and they are just there to flourish the business. They're not interested in seeing the integrity, what the students are impacted. All they want to hear is if money is flowing to the businesses, students have to not to fail, so that then they opt to go to other institutions. Other things.
Ask your question.
Is you am I asking? You got me right?
You have not asked anything now.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can hear you.
You can hear me?
Can hear
So
you.
the question,
Yes.
the question is, the board members, the owners of these institutions sometimes are not interested in the integrity. They are interested in how much they get in the businesses. They're interested in the huge numbers of the students flocking into those institutions. So they are not interested so much into integrity, about corruption, what is going on in the institution. They're interested in how much money they get as profit. How do you address that? And my other question is, I was a victim also as a lecturer like you. I was given shoes recently by my students whom I taught them very well. They were mixed up, ladies and men, but it is only the men who gathered and they bought me shoes. And I asked them, why are you buying me shoes? They said, you have brought us from far. We appreciate, and just take this as a gift. Unfortunately, I took the shoes. I still have them. What could I have done? Help me, sir. Those two questions.
Thank you. Let me start from the last part of your question. Actually, you will have turned the shoe down, or the gift of the shoe down, because the reason is this. That's part of gratification. That's part of corruption. Yes, they may have good intention in doing that, but even they have good intention in doing that. For example, they said you taught them very well, we like you, we like your method of teaching, and we bought a shoe for you. But the day one of them fail your course, and they come to report, and then eventually, and you say, no, there's nothing I can do about it because you have failed. That's where the real situation will unfold. They will now say, after you leave your office, they will come up and say, look at this man, we bought a shoe for him. And they have a gut to they will not say they failed, but they say you failed them. And then they will now start talking, against you. And when you hear that outside, as soon as saying that, look at this man, we even bought shoe for him, and he had the gut to fail us. But normal students, when they pass, they will say, I passed. But when they fail, they will say, lecturers failed me. Do not accept the fact that they didn't perform very well. That's why they failed. So to be on the safer side, it's even better you didn't take the shoe. Yes, one can appreciate, but when one is in the system as a student, that's not correct. Let's say, for example, they have graduated and they're working and they remember what you did to them and they bought shoe for you. That's different. But not when they are in the system, you're still teaching them, because that can be a gratification that has negative consequences as long as they're in the system. Coming to your first question, yes, there are institutions, especially private institutions, that lower the standard because they look at school business as money-making business. But I want to say that that's part of corruption. I know one of these universities here in Nigeria, they will give a clear guideline. They will say, nobody should fail, because students cannot pay money in this university and you fail them. So in that case, lecturers are bound to pass everybody. That's corruption. And in such institutions, learning cannot take place because in a situation whereby you must pass everybody, why is learning here? There'll be no competition, there'll be no, fairness. And so, true, what you said is true, that there are such institutions like this, whereby the owners will say, well, I'm here for business, and I cannot bring other people's children here and pay money in millions of currency, and then you fail them. But of course, it's part of corruption. And you are asking, how can this thing be corrected? That's why we're here. So when we have, we are attending lectures like this, webinar series like this, monthly webinar series like this, and then we're able to invite them to join and let them learn, let them, key into such a global forum of, educating us about integrity. I think by and large, we'll be able to reach there. For example, here we have over 300 people that attended, that registered for this topic, for this webinar series. Now, if at the end of this series, this lecture, the 300 will influence one person and say, hey, that there's a need for integrity in tertiary education system, and this is the way to. So by the time one person influences one person, by next month will be 600. And if the 600 people also influence person each, before you know what is happening, from 600, we now become 1,200. So if we, through this forum or fora, are we able to understand and stand on integrity and influence others, you will see that that's how we're able to, in a little way, influence them. And when what's happening, we're able to effect some changes in our society through these tertiary institutions. I don't know whether I attempted your questions.
Very well. Thank you. Keep up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Please, those who fill today's feedback form will get a gift. So please try as much as possible to fill the feedback form. And also the slides of today's lecture will be sent to us. And the participants, please, if you want to ask questions, please introduce yourself before asking questions. Then you just tell us your name, your country, your affiliation. Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. John, can you unmute kindly and ask your question? John is not there. Okay, Bill David.
Thank you, Ma. Good morning, organizers of this wonderful webinar, and good morning, Prof, for the wonderful presentation. My question is on the issue of levying students for defense. I witnessed a scenario where students from very poor background have to withdraw from postgraduate program because they cannot afford the levy for the defense of their dissertation and thesis. Is there any other policy that can be put on ground to eliminate these practices by some institution in Nigeria? Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, there are ways to do that. And one of the ways to do that is what we do in our university. When we discover that this thing has been a cankerworm in our system here in our university, so the School of Postgraduates brought a policy, and they factored in some little amount of money per student at registration. And the little amount of money, it can be just 5,000 naira. By the time you take 5,000 naira from, let's say, 1,000 students, at least you'll be able to have enough to entertain people during the. So as it is now in my university, that thing has been eroded, except those who are maybe cutting corners. And so at registration, you have 5,000 naira for departmental registration, then 5,000 naira for, faculty. So they use that for that purpose. And in this case, no students will be levied to, provide money for defense, whereby they are sometimes 50,000 naira on your currency. That thing has been abolished. So I think when we adopt such policies, that will be able to help to correct the system so that the poor people will not drop out of the system because of that kind of burden being imposed on them by the system. I don't know what you understand.
Yes, thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Please, Pamela, unmute and ask your question. Please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Pamela. I'm joining from Akwa Ibom State, affiliation Akwa Ibom State Polytechnic. Thank you all for the very enlightening lecture, the keynote address. My question is, please, a friend of mine who almost missed her promotion last year because she was unable to publish the institution's journal. The person in charge of this journal rejected her twice and asked her to go and make adjustments. Both occasions, she did the adjustments, submitted it at the time, and this person held on to the work and it was not published. Eventually, she took it to another journal and had her work published. And then when she was faced the promotion interview last, this man was at the promotion panel and was attacking her why she should not be publishing, why she's not publishing in this. Thankfully, and it was almost as if she wasn't going to be promoted. He found reasons to attack her based on that. But thankfully, there was someone in the panel who put the others that it was compulsory. Yeah, it was necessary because lecturers in the institution are encouraged to publish in the institution journal. It wasn't compulsory, it wasn't an absolute motion. So she should not only one voice. Thankfully, he was able to complete others and go through. Now my question is, insurance face this, what should they do?
Pamela, your network is cracking. I'm just hearing a crack voice. I'm not hearing very well. Maybe from network.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I be? Am I audible?
It's better now. Yeah, it's better now. Yeah.
I don't know at what point. I said there is a friend of mine, her institution's journal, she was not able to publish it. And at the point of promotion interview, she faced a lot of trouble. She almost missed her promotion because of that. Because the person in charge of her journal refused to publish her work. Actually, he asked for what she refused. That was the crux of the matter. Now, other lecturers are facing the same problem. What can they do?
Okay. Thank you.
No.
I don't think your institution will force you to publish in a particular journal before it can be used for promotion. To the best of my knowledge, any globally recognized institution should be able to accept journal from a very good journal publishers globally recognized. So if one journal is frustrating you, or somebody is frustrating you, you cannot publish it, then the best thing is that you diversify. Of course, diversification is allowed in journal publication. And provided it's not predictive journal, the one that's lower in quality. So my advice is that instead of you just keeping to one person, to one journal, even if it is a faculty journal, except if the institution said it must be from this journal, which I think is not correct. I think the best is to look that and diversify your publications, or your friends should diversify in other good journals, which can also be accepted for promotion. I don't know whether I've attempted your questions.
Yes, sir. That's what I said. Be diversified. She published in a different when her work was institutional and and this man, charge of publication, charge of the journal, was the one teaching her at the point from the interview.
If I understand you very well, after she diversified and published other journals, is it the people sitting on the promotion that refused? And if that's the case, it's part of the corruption we're talking about. Because if somebody has published in good journals, recognized all over the world, and one institution said, I will not recognize that, I think there's a problem, integrity issue in that institution, which they need to go back and sort it out, because there's no way that you publish globally recognized journals, and one institution will say, no, it must be, you will not be promoting until you publish here in this journal. I think that's part of corruption problem, and she should be avoided at all costs. I don't know, Pamela, whether I attempted your question because it was cracking. That's the best I could get out of your question. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Hello.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
I want, yes.
Please, I have a question.
Please, I want to call some names, and if I call, you ask your questions so that Prof can take all the questions at a time. Kruma Jeseniel, Flora Ebaimo, Francis Awodoi, Badru Ishmael, and Solomon Chidubem. Please, you can unmute, ask your questions, and tell us where you're coming from, your affiliation, so that Prof can take everything together. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning.
Kruma, please. Kruma, please. Let's hear you.
Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Flora Moka. I'm calling from Mudiki, Abia State. Prof, thank you so much for the... I have a worry. And the worry is the rate at which the educational system is dilapidating as the year goes by. It is supposed to be increasing to actually add to actually enhance. Well, I say it's supposed to be the rate at which we assimilate anything taught in class. But what can be done? My question is to close the gap between the outcome of A's from the WAEC examination versus the low score of JAM entry score, as in the JAM entry exam, into the higher institution. Because what we see on a daily basis is a WAEC result having beautiful number of quite a large number of A's. And when it comes to JAM score, the JAM board keeps reducing the entry score year in, year out. Prof, sir, please, what can be done to close that gap so that we have a WAEC output of A's versus the JAM score? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Francis, you can ask yours too, so the Prof can take it together.
Okay, thank you, Mo. God bless you for the time given. And also, we are very grateful to the Prof for coming at this time to enlighten us and to see how to do it rightly with our children. May God help us. My question number one, for the promotion exercise, why can't the university leaders allow students to be part of grading of lecturers? They will not put their name, they will not put anything, they will grade them and they will tell us the characteristics of these lecturers, so that by that the university will know and take advantages of that to promote the lecturer. Number two, if the student pass examination as somebody have asked a question, the student have passed exam, you have taken 30 students, and all of them pass. Is it not to the advantages of the lecturer that he has taught very well? Or are we praying that the student should fail? So is it an offense for a student, 30 students to be in your class and all the 30 pass? Is it not possible? Or are we planning for their failure? Thank you for this beautiful day. God bless you.
Thank you.
Mr. Badru Ishmael, please
Yes,
kindly unmute and ask your questions.
okay.
Let's
Good day,
take all
all.
the questions together. Yes.
Good day, all. Good day,
Good day.
my able professor, my able supervisor.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. Thank you, sir. I have two questions. The first question is that how can you encourage the young scholars to be publishing in high impact journals? That's one. Secondly, sir, on the issue of conference, being it local or international, because I heard you saying you were sponsored for a conference, but you couldn't attend, but you sent somebody which was your junior colleague. Yes, and later you returned the money. What of the universities that when they apply at times, they may not get the money? And by the time they now have the opportunity of having that kind of money, if the person refuses to pay the money back, or I don't know precisely what could be your suggestion in this manner. If, for example, I applied previously, I was not sponsored, and I've attended, submitted, and this time around, I was able to have this opportunity, but not directly being given to me, maybe to my boss, and he has this opportunity, and I explained to him that this is what happened before now. Am I entitled to this claim instead of returning this money, can the money be used to settle my previous attendance? I don't know if you get my question clearly, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we
Yes.
just have
And I attempt to answer. Okay.
okay, sir.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Do I go ahead? Can I go
Yes,
ahead?
sir. Yes, sir, you can, sir.
All right. It's all right. Thank you. Yes, Flora talked about the gap between WAEC and JAM entry scores. The truth of the matter is this: not in all cases, but in most cases, WAEC these days is not a correct reflection of intelligence or performance of students, because you hear of what we call miracle centers. That's in court. You see how people go into, even before they go into the exam hall, sometimes in a way, they get access to some of the questions. Of course, this is not a hidden thing. And so that somebody gets A's in WAEC is not a pointer of the fact that that person is very intelligent, because there are several factors. Yes, there are genuine ones, but there are also those that are not genuine. For example, let me give you this practical example. one of our students, one day he came with distinctions, and he got admitted into the university. But after first semester, he had several carryovers. Second semester, he was to be withdrawn. So he was called to the office by one of the lecturers. What's your problem? See, you have distinctions, see your results, and you could not make it to move to the next level in the university. What's wrong? What's wrong with you? And the boy said, Ma, the truth is, I didn't write WAEC. My mother got somebody who wrote WAEC for me. And that's how I used a certificate to come here. And when I entered the class, I didn't know what they're doing. And that's why I failed. And the lecturer said, did your mother help you now? Or your mother in a way contributed to destroying you? And the boy started crying. My mother did not help me. So it's still part of the corruption. But ordinarily, in a situation whereby somebody has genuine results, he should be able to translate good jump scores. But because of some of these factors, the line of distinction between genuine and false ones sometimes is difficult to identify. But that's why we're here. When we continue in such lectures and about integrity, then we influence others so that even those who are engaged in all these exam malpractices should be able to do the right thing, because there's still lack of integrity. And I believe that by the time we do our own part, now, for example, from different institutions, we can carry the message home, right to secondary schools, and say, look, that anyone writing work should write the work from their head, using their brain, not to go through exam malpractice. I think with that, be able to correct the system by and by. Then talking about, Francis talked about allowing students to be part of grading system of grading of lecturers. Why not? In fact, in some universities, they do that. And they don't write the names, but they're able to assess the lecturer. Do they come to class? When they come to class, do they stay? Because there are some lecturers that they'll just come, maybe if it's a 2 hours lecture, they'll come after 1 hour, students will be waiting. And funny enough, when they come 1 hour late and they enter, and some students come, they will close the door. I mean, they will say, no, once I enter, students will not come in. And then after 30 minutes, they leave. That's part of the corruption, which means they spend only 30 minutes out of 2 hours lecture. It's part of the corruption. And so it's a good idea that students be involved, because the administration will not know these lecturers doing this, but I know in some universities they do that. They get students and then to assess the lecturers without putting their names, and with that, there will be sanity in the system. So Francis also said, if he passed all his students, it's not a sign of good teaching. It depends. And that's why we talk of integrity. If you do that, actually, your conscience tells you that, yes, you taught them very well, and that's why they passed, fine. Why not? There's no rule that says you must not pass all the students. No rule that says that, but of course, it should be with integrity. And if, for example, because you just feel that, sorry, they will not say, I failed the student, I passed everybody, of course, your conscience will tell you that that's not right. So there's nothing wrong if you taught the students very well and they pass very well. There's nothing wrong with that. Badru, you're talking about how to encourage young scholars to publish. Yes, one thing I want to say here is to publish in globally recognized journals, you need to be hardworking and you need collaboration. Sometimes not just you by yourself. So there are times that you need to collaborate together with people of like minds, people that you know what they're doing. So if you're hardworking and you collaborate, then why not? It's very important to encourage the younger ones. As a matter of fact, it's good that we, the professors, should mentor the young ones. Some of the people that feel as if because they are frustrated during their undergraduate days and during masters, and then they will say, me, before you graduate, before I was signing a PhD, you have to suffer because I suffered. That's not right. We should be mentors. It's part of corruption if you do that. So why not? We encourage younger ones to publish. As a matter of fact, you as a professor, you can mentor somebody, pick somebody, and teach him how to write papers. He did the papers, guide him as to where he will send the papers for publication. People like Dr. Wazani is there, the versatile researcher globally, and we're on this platform with him. Get access to people like that, and then through that, you'll be able to publish in a good journal, of course. And you said you applied, attended a conference, and the money was not released to you. When later the money is released, will you accept? Of course, yes. You have attended, you use your money to attend the conference, why not? So if you have gone to a conference and probably before the university released the money, or maybe they're not even releasing the money, but later they remember that, oh, Badru went to a conference and we have not attended to him, and they release the money to you, you collect it because you have done the job. It's not the same case with mine that I didn't go and the money was released to me as a professor, and then I asked somebody who's a co-author with me that represented us. Is a different issue. So, so that's just two different issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you so much. So let us have the last names for today's questions. Solomon, Chinenye, Clement, Isifanus, Kroma, and Charles. So these are the last people that we can entertain their questions for today. Thank you. So you can unmute and speak, please.
Good morning.
Chinenye.
Good morning, ma.
Chinenye.
Yeah, good morning, ma.
Good morning.
Good morning, Prof. Good morning, Avis. Thank you for the wonderful lecture. Okay, so I want to ask. Sorry, I didn't join the call early, but after I joined, we are talking about the indices of corruption. So I want to ask, because there was something that came up recently in my place of employment. Okay, my name is Chinenye, and I'm joining from Enugu State, Nigeria. Okay, I work with Federal Police. So when I joined, we are talking about the indices of corruption. And something happened in my place of work recently, where some people were making students to buy textbooks. So some people were like, you don't influence students to buy textbook, and some said that in the primary and secondary schools, that students usually use textbooks for everything. So that since we are all in academic, hello, can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, that since we are also in the same line, that students need to buy textbooks, and sometimes they'll be giving them assignments that need them to use the textbook for it. So I don't know. My first question is it wise actually, let me use the word force, to actually influence students to buy textbook? Is it part of corruption? Then secondly, talking about receiving gifts from students, I don't do that. From my project students, I don't see it. But recently something happened. There was this class that we taught, and they bought gifts for all the lecturers. I refused taking it. I thought that they really want to appreciate me when they graduate. They can then come out, not know that they want to appreciate me. They said no, that some of them are working, and that they thought it wise to appreciate their lecturers, and I took it. So I don't know if I've committed an offense. Thank you so much.
Okay. Clement, please quickly ask your question. Unmute and ask and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Abana Clement Nimka from University of Cross River State, formerly known as CRUTEC. I have two questions, one of which have partly been asked by a colleague. Then the deep part is that I am worried because Prof is talking about integrity in academics. And most at times, JAM, the cutoff point they allocated to education is from 100 to 160. It means education is not given the priority as nursing and law and other courses in university. I'm troubled about it. Then the second question is, if you are working with a course coordinator and he often collect gratification from students and a co-lecturer does not, hence he or she is the course lecturer of that very particular course, and the both of you are to sign for the result. What do you advise such a person to do? Thank you.
Okay. Isifanos, can we hear you? Please unmute.
Thank you.
Ask the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone.
The last part of the
thank
question, it was cracking my head. Clement, I didn't get the last part of the
Sorry,
question.
do I
please.
continue?
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
The last part of the question, please. Clement, the last part. It was cracking at my end here.
Okay, sorry about that, Prof. My second question is, you are under a course coordinator sharing, lecturing one particular course, and the course coordinator do collect gratification from students. And you are not a person that collect gratification from students. You always bring issues, and at the point of signing the result for submission, what do you advise one to do in such a scenario? Thank you, Prof.
Okay. Allow you, please. Unmute and ask your question.
Oh, okay.
All right. Good afternoon. Sorry, I don't know if I'm audible.
You are.
Hello.
You are.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm from Obafemi Awolowo University Teaching Hospital in Ife. And basically, my question is towards School of Health Technologies. I know that the School of Health Technologies in Nigeria are also part of higher institutions in Nigeria, and
quickly run.
I've been able to actually do a few things in schools, and I see a very high level of corruption in everything. In fact, lecturers can come to class and say, I want you to buy this for me, and it will be done. What I want to ask is that what can be done? What can we do to this School of Health Technology and the level of corruption in them? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Solomon, please unmute and ask your question. And the last person is Soluambe. That's the last for today. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Prof, for your patience.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
We can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Good afternoon once again. I'm Solomon Chidubemo Bonna, and I'm calling from the University of Ibadan, UI. My question: we are encouraged as scholars to produce papers, to write papers, to publish papers on high impact journals. But I've also heard many lecturers, professors telling us how many articles or papers they have published. But we've not been hearing, and I've not heard how many problems we've solved through our papers. So my question now is, there is no impact. So my question now is, how can we use our papers, or how can we use our research ideas to solve problems, and not just only about the papers, how much papers we produce and stuff like that? That's one. Number two, I want to ask this very question and answers we are receiving here. There are people how can we take this men who are not here, especially those who are the helm of affair of higher institutions, who are maybe lawmakers and the rest in our institutions? How can they hear of what Prof has told us here on this very webinar? That's my question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Prof. Good afternoon, Prof. Good afternoon to all erudite scholars on this webinar. My name is Akimoye Oluwambe from Motetop University, Ogun State. I have two questions. One is on what could we do to actually discourage students from contracting their final year projects for outsiders to write for them? Because I discovered that it's a common occurrence in most universities, simply because some of the students cannot even write, and some lecturers intentionally do that to make the student unable to write so that they could write for them and make money from it. And secondly, the issue of artificial intelligence for writing projects is equally a common occurrence. How do we discourage that among students and even lecturers for writing articles and manuscripts? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Charles. Thank you. Finally, Charles. Charles, please unmute. Okay, Prof, you can go ahead and answer the questions. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity once again. Chinenye, you talk about students buying textbooks in the university. We have no basis to compare university or tertiary institution to secondary and primary. The reason is this: nursery, primary, and secondary are foundational classes. And of course, they need textbooks to guide them. They need textbooks to tell them which subjects. And so that is necessary at that level. But at the university level, students are expected to know how to go into researches. They can go to the library, make researches. They can go on the net to get information on the net. So forcing students to buy textbooks in tertiary institution, that's not correct. I think it's part of the corruption, because students at that level, they are matured enough to get information online through guidance of mentors, lecturers around. So there's no basis for asking them to compulsorily buy textbooks at that level. Not only that, you talk about you talk about receiving gratification, or rather gift after graduation. Yes, you didn't commit offense for receiving gratification or gifts from students after graduation, because already I've done the work. What we're saying is that you don't collect gifts from students when you're still teaching them, because it has a way of boomeranging on you as a lecturer. They can come back for it. You know, human beings, you cannot predict them. They give you a gift today, they smile with you. The day that anything goes wrong with the course you're teaching them, that's when they will show you that, well, after all, they'll be giving you a gift, so you don't have right to question them. So it's better after graduation, and I want to appreciate you, there's nothing wrong with that. Clement, you're worried about education giving a cutoff, JAM cutoff from 100 to 160, while medicine and other courses in the university are giving higher JAM cutoff. Well, yes, I think there's less we can do here because it's a policy issue. The policy issue in the sense that we are not the determining factor, and it's done by the policymakers. But I think when we continue talking about the issue of integrity, when the thing gets to them, probably they will look at that again and see how to give education value, because the truth there is that everything starts from education. And without education, you cannot talk of engineering. Without education, somebody with educational background, you cannot talk of medicine. But I think there's need to give priority to that. But this is a policy issue, which by and by probably can be addressed. You talk about a course coordinator. Here he is collecting gratification, and then because you are joined to teach the course, maybe some of these courses that appeared, and then you'll be collecting gratification and you'll just be doing the signing. Part of integrity is to be courageous. You should be able to tell him and say, sir, with due respect, this is not right. And my conscience tells me that we cannot be charging students for this. We are paid our salaries for this work. And as long as this continues, I will report to the administrator, to the authority, that I will not be part of this course if you continue doing that. I think it's part of integrity problem. And so you will tell the person, maintain your stand, be courageous, and tell the person that as long as you continue like this, I cannot be part of this. And I'm sure he has two options. If he's afraid of him being reported to the higher authority, he will stop it. And he's adamant, you keep to your word. And then, of course, tell him that you cannot be part of this. And then he too will be able to learn lessons from that. Philip, you talk about School of Health, Sciences, and Technology, and you classified all of them as having issues of corruption. I think, I know that in research you do generalization. But Mr. Philip, this your generalization I think is faulty, because you cannot say, because you know some, maybe where you are, or maybe some places, College of Health Science and Technology, maybe they are corrupt, the collection from people, all that. You cannot generalize that all are like that. At least I know some that they're not like that, including ours that started recently. We cannot talk of corruption. You cannot talk of collecting money from students, for example. And that also brings to the fore the issue of integrity. When the head of that institution is a man of integrity, it cannot happen. He will put his feet on the ground and say, not here, it will not happen, and it will not happen. And besides, the College of Health Science and Technology are monitored by competent monitoring team, especially the MBTE. We know the MBTE, I know the education secretary is a man, is a non-nonsense man. And I'm sure if they get to know some of these things, except if they're not aware, they have a way of checkmating them. So, and again, sometimes some of those things, they're hidden and people don't hear about them. Just like in the accreditation in the university, for example, when people come for accreditation and you hide the information, you borrow some things from here and here. And when the people come for accreditation, and you show as if everything is okay, that's part of corruption. And when they go, you're back to square one. Nothing in the laboratory, nothing. So again, if those institutions They did not make any move to show the monitoring body that there's a problem. Of course, the monitoring body cannot checkmate them. But I think, again, we need to tell the heads of these institutions that it's high time such corruption stops. And for example, we can do that through a forum like this, by interaction. And by the time we do that, some of those things will be minimized. Solomon, we talk about we need to encourage people to write papers and actually researches to solve problems. But how is it that some of the researches are just piled up in library? Yes, you're right. I also share the same view with you. Researches are not meant for libraries. Just write your thesis, write your publish papers, and then you keep them in the library or keep them in your shelf. That's not the importance. That's not the purpose of research. The research is to solve problems in the society. And so it's our duty as we attend fora like this, and also as we interact on global fora like this, we need to tell ourselves that let our research be problem-solving research, not just I published how many in a high-impact journal I published. That's not the issue. What has that research done to solve problem in the society? I think that's the question that we need to ask. So I also share the same opinion with you, that our research should not be published and then kept in the shelf, but it should be problem-solving research. And I hope after these integrity lectures, we'll begin to look at the kind of researches we make. It's not just for promotion, but it's to solve a problem in the society. And I believe when we do that, we'll be able to have a better researches that will solve problems in the society. Oluwambe, you said what to do to discourage final year students to give their work to other people to write, and also discourage them from using AI in writing of report. Yes, we have a role to play here. If, for example, you are the supervisor of that student, you can make sure that you can tell him that instead of him giving somebody outside to write for him, you can be a guide to him. Guide simply means tell him what to do, guide him. Sometimes what makes some of the students to run to other people is also partly because of the high-handedness of some supervisors. Supervisors, they don't guide the students, they don't teach them what to do. Say, go and bring chapter 1 to 3. And then the student just go, why would he produce chapter 1 to 3? You didn't tell him how to write chapter 1. You didn't guide him as to how to write a literature review. And then you didn't tell him about research, methodology. And so what he would do is that, my lecturer, my professor said I should bring chapter 1 to 3. You just go and pay somebody so that within 1 week, and even you as a supervisor, how can a student bring chapter 1 to 3 within a week? And you say it's correct. It's not. It's part of corruption. And so we have a role to play to guide our students aright, that if we guide them aright, they will do the right thing. But if we don't guide them aright, that's why they can go outside and do all kinds of things, even including, we can use a check, we can use there are ways we can check if a project is written through AI. And then when you are guiding your students, you use that check, you use that method of checking, and then you guide your students right. If I do it, you do it, he does it, then all of us together we're able to produce students who know what to do and who will be able to write good research work to the extent that by the time they finish writing their research project at the final year project, then they can even convert it to papers without recourse for people paying people to write for them. And with that, we have contributed to raising young researchers into the system. And I believe we do that, everything will be all right. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. We are really, really grateful. We are grateful. We are grateful, Prof. Thank you so much. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. In fact, the questions and answers, perfect answers. I think we are satisfied, sir. And we need more of this. Honestly, there should be an awareness. And we thank you for opening our eyes of understanding. That's a very beautiful one. So let us keep on rolling our favorite emojis for him. Please let us roll our emojis for him. Prof, thank you so much. We are grateful. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you,
Hello,
sir.
ma'am.
God bless you. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you. We appreciate you, Prof. We appreciate you so much. Now, before we end the session, we would like to bring Dr. Lawrence Eje on board to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm audible.
Yes, you are, sir.
All right. We want to thank Prof. We lack the word to say the right word of appreciation to you, Prof. We want to just say thank you. And for every participant, please join me through whatever reaction means you use on your device to appreciate Professor Joseph Zambwa for this excellent lecture. Actually, it's an eye-opening time. Like one of the persons that asked question, how can this be further broadcast to higher authority and other quarters to heal this evil in our tertiary institution, be it university, college, or polytechnic? We are very grateful, sir. You have taken us through causes of lack of integrity and corruption in our school system. You have shown us concept of integrity. I have also shown us the way forward in restoring integrity to the system. Permit me to appreciate Professor Joseph again, Zambwa, for applying his high intelligence in navigating this ill in the system, defining it, and practically answering the multiple questions to create greater understanding. It takes intelligence. Like somebody earlier was wrongly thinking that this AI generated. A back check on Prof showed that he is a practical man who practices what he preaches. He's not only a practical man, he's a great entrepreneur and a high-ranking professor in a global organization. Prof is not AI, Prof is real. He preaches and he practices what he preaches. Thank you, sir. We are very grateful. You have shown to us in your life, from what we have checked at the background, that you have a practical and zero tolerance for corruption. It is this lifestyle and value of life that is the solution to the problem we are sharing and discussing today in our school system. And as part of the larger society, this is a big problem in our educational system. Once again, we at age, we love excellent and practical academians. This is why, please, sir, we will be beckoning on you from time to time to share from your wealth of experience. You have seen it all. By looking at you at your age, you've gone through what many of us younger ones are craving for. We need to learn from you. When we beckon on you, please don't be tired of us. We'll keep coming. The take home from this, which me personally have gotten, is that we all must decide, refuse to be corrupt, and put it loud in the system. And in short time, we will restore integrity back to the system. It may cause some pain, but we must be determined. On behalf of all participants of today, the age staff and director, we are grateful, sir. Thank you very much, sir. All you have shared with us, God replenish you. We are grateful, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lawrence. Thank you,
Thank
Prof. Once again, thank you, everyone, for joining us, and do have a great day. We have come to the end of the webinar. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma.
Thank you.